Hi there and welcome back to the channel. So today I am continuing with my electrical installation and it's about what's happening on the roof. So on the roof I'm basically going to be mounting 3 100-watt solar panels, and I also have a WeBoost Wi-Fi, which is a cell phone booster antenna, and I've also included floodlights at the front and floodlights at the back. And so in order to get those 5 devices into the van, I have to put in 5 entry glands, which is going to be 2 double entry glands and 1 single entry gland. And there's a few little tips to doing that I have researched that I will show you when I get on the roof. The 5 things that I'm mounting on the roof are LED floodlights on the front and the back, a Wi-Fi booster antenna, and of course the positive and the negative lead for my solar panel array. And so that's what I've got to get in today, and yeah, I'll show you how I go about it. See you up there. So just a few things you're going to need for this project. So of course, when you're drilling holes into the top of your van, one of the main things you've got to be thinking about is how to make sure you are uber waterproofing what you're doing, okay? So the tools we're going to need today is obviously a drill. I'm going to probably use a step drill. And then what we're going to need is, I've got this grommet kit, okay? And then I'm going to obviously rusoleum, rust proof the actual hole. Then I'm going to stick in a grommet that will fit the wire, whatever wire I need to go through, okay? And then this is an entry gland. This is a double entry gland, okay? Which is designed to fit a very particular gauge of wire through it. But then you've got to make sure that this thing adheres to your roof. And then I'm going to use this stuff called Sikaflex to stick it down, and then I will weigh it down, okay? And then once that's happened and you've got your wires through, you're going to put on lap sealant around the edge of this. So that's sort of like 3 forms of waterproofing. And then, knowing me, I'll also come in underneath the holes and silicone them too. So that's 4 forms of waterproofing. You do not want your roof leaking. Another idea, or another thing to consider, is place your entry gland at the highest point of your roof that you can, so that if any water is running, it's running off here. It's not going to pool around here, okay? So that's what we're doing today. We're mounting entry glands and cutting holes in my roof. Again, this is the last metal I'll be drilling. That's cool. See you up there. Okay, so the very first thing I'm doing is I am protecting the van from metal filings, and until I get things mounted, it also protects it from rain. So that's really what I've done here at the front and the back. So I've got 3 glands to go here and 1 at the back, and that's just a piece of plastic with some what we call gaff tape around it. So that's the next thing to do. Hey, so I'm back on the roof of my van again, and just let me show you my next steps here. So you've seen me do the protection underneath the van, and then the next thing is to mark out where your drilling positions are. So this is what I've done. Okay, so that's a solar entry gland, or an entry gland. It doesn't have to be solar. There's going to be a double there and a single here, okay? So I have wrapped underneath there. This is my thinking. So remember, your entry glands are always going to face forward, right? So rain and driving and all that, you obviously want it to be like that. So they're always going to face backwards like this. Don't put them sideways. You want them to be as protected from, you know, water intrusion as possible. This is what this whole exercise is about. So that's about a good position. And what will happen is it'll go through here and then out the other end there. So it goes through these and out the other end, and you need a little bit of space for it to curve. Okay, right? So that's actually where I'll be drilling, because that'll sit at the back. Makes sense? Yeah. And then I put my 2 X marks the spots, and then I've got 1 over here. And I've done the same thing at the back. And here goes. So all I'm using here today is a step drill. And just so you know what I'm drilling it to is, I've got these little grommets, okay? This little grommet that's going to stick in to the hole. This is an extra, and then it's going to be an extra sort of waterproofing. So I'm using the step drill to drill to pretty much that size. And I'm going to do that for all of the holes. So there we have the 2 holes, and that's the grommet that's going to fit in there after I paint rusoleum around there, which is the next thing. I'm going to do that for the next 3 holes, so we'll have 5 holes in total. So the next piece is painting rusoleum over that. You always, let's do it this way, painting rusoleum. Anytime you may expose your metal because you've cut it to the weather, you want to paint rusoleum on it. You want to limit rusting, you want to limit water intrusion. So that's those 3 holes rusoleumed. So you can see here that my little plastic under piece has caught a whole pile of the metal filings and the kill mat stuff that's had to be chipped away. So now I'm just waiting for the rusoleum to dry before I start putting in the grommets and threading wires. Oh, so I am down here with my solar panels laid out on the floor as I am laying them out to just check that I've got all the pieces for the wiring, and I'll be wiring these in parallel. And so I've literally just got everything here to show you. This will be the entry gland right here. It has a negative and a positive wire, and I've put some red electrical tape around both ends of the positive wire so we know it's positive. Then we're going to have these triple MC4 connectors into each one of them. Into the red one, we're going to fuse each one of them with a 15 amp fuse because that's what my solar panels are rated for. And then each panel will just have its positive put into these MC4 connectors and its negative into these MC4 connectors. So this one can be straight. I've got an extension cord here, and I've just got another set coming for that one. And that's how I'm going to wire my solar panels. Okay, so the rusoleum is dry. I'm about to mount this entry gland. The next thing I'm going to do here, as you're going to see, is fit these little rubber, because I've got this whole pack of rubber grommets. And it's actually these 7/16 pieces I'm going to put into the hole, and this is one of the 4 different ways I'm going to be waterproofing my roof. Pop these little rubber grommets into the holes, and the next thing, they're going to feed the solar panel wires into. Okay, so before you do that, you want to feed your wires into your entry gland. Okay, so I've done that first. Make sure they're really tight, and then I'm going to be feeding them down. Remember, it's going to go this way because the idea of an entry gland is that, you know, when you're driving, water etc. is going to go down here. So next job is to feed these down the holes. So you can see here, just wanted to check that these all sat in place. They're fine. And before I stick this down, let's temporarily in place, and I will silastic that down. This is the positive ones with the fuses. This is the negative here. So that's ready to go. So just an update on the entry glands. So I have actually put the wires through all of my glands, right? Okay, and there's what's underneath. Yep. And I'm going to actually Sikaflex these down. And it's actually good because they got to drive with them, and they're showing the positions they kind of want to sit in. Yep. So I'm going to mount them in those positions. So that's one for my forward light. That's for the solar panels. And at the back here, we have one that is for my backlight and for my Wi-Fi booster antenna. So they're all through the gland. They've got the grommets underneath, and now I'm going to clean the roof off with alcohol and then stick it down with this stuff, Sikaflex, and then weigh them down. Should be, I think, 24 hours before, and that's going to seal them. And then after that, I'm going to put on lap sealant. Okay, so some white lap sealant. So this is what I'm doing next. So that's those two entry glands mounted, and then I'm just going to do the back, and then they're going to be waterproofed. I'll put lap sealant around the edges just for a double waterproofing, and then I'll be also putting some sort of gasket underneath. We do not want this to leak water or snow in the roof. Next thing I'm doing here on the roof is I'm putting lap sealant on here to afford another level of waterproofing. This is going to level out as it dries, but okay, that's the next level of waterproofing the entry glands, done until dried. This is my front light mounted. I had to expand that joint a little bit, but basically that is into the 80-20. Okay, and that's on both sides of the 80-20, of course. Yep. And then, of course, the wire comes out the side and then into, in this instance, a single entry gland. And then at the back, a slightly smaller white, just plain LED. Again, this just has one mount on each side. Okay, same thing, just mounted to the 80-20, and then its light comes out the side here, and in this instance it actually plugs into a wire here that goes through the entry gland. So this is just showing the WeBoost antenna is in place here. So I've chosen to put it here on the edge of my ladder. Okay, super simple position for me at least. And then it sticks up about 10 inches. I'll show you from another angle. And then I've just used a bunch of ties to tie it through underneath here, which will go underneath solar panels, etc. And then it goes into the entry gland over here. So this is the upper part of the WeBoost installation. Okay, so I'm about to continue doing some wiring, and I'm going to be wiring up this Renogy dual purpose unit, which is a 50 amp DC to DC onboard battery charger. What that means is I get to charge my house batteries from the alternator when I'm driving. Yep. It's also an MPPT, which means it's also a solar charge controller. I like the fact that it's a compact unit because I've only got this little space in which to put most of my power bank and it came highly recommended. So first thing I'm actually going to do is, if you follow this line up here, this is actually my solar line going up through here, up the back of my cabinet, up through my entry gland here. Yeah. And so this is what I'm going to wire in first. And first thing I'm actually going to do is put in an on-off switch so I can actually turn off my solar panels. A couple of reasons for that. You actually want to be able to do that so that you can reset this and be able to isolate your solar panels. So that's going to go through the these happen to both be black. This is actually my positive cable here. So I'm going to pop that over there somewhere, and then that's going to go into this top left hand point here. And that's what I'm about to do now. So what I wanted to show you here is that the solar panels brackets are mounted. So I had to drill out the side of the solar panel aluminum track, and then I've mounted these brackets, yeah? So that's it upside down. So it's going to sit on top of the 80-20. So these are 80-20 brackets, which I have measured very precisely. Partly because I can't move one side of my 80-20 because of the awning now. But just to show you, it's just got a bolt on this side, and it bolts through with lock washers, and that's them all ready. And then also I've got my extension cords already mounted. So these are ready to be mounted basically. I'm just waiting for some Sikaflex and lap sealant to dry. Otherwise, my solar panels are ready to be mounted on the roof. So I'm super happy. This morning I mounted the solar panels. I didn't take you up there because there wasn't much room on the roof, but what I'll do now is I'll see what I can do in terms of showing you what I did. Okay, so here are my 3 solar panels mounted, which is great. As you can see, that original plan has come into action. They are mounted. And so that was just showing you this piece, which is my mounting hardware, which was these bolts and nuts through the actual solar panel drilled in, and then this is hex bolts into the 80-20. Okay, found it just to be perfect, and you can't quite see this, but the panels themselves are hidden behind my roof racks, right, which is exactly what I had intended. So I'm super stoked to have that finished, and here we go. She's powering my batteries.